Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcore Guides, bringing my guide for God Hand on Hard difficulty. Today we're doing Stage 1-3 entitled A Poison Chihuahua. Starting right off, I did go to the store and I bought an upgrade to my health and an upgrade to my combo max amount, which is like now 5. And I also bought elbow spin. And this right here was an accident. I meant to throw it at mainly just the left guy. I didn't really care, to be fair, which guy necessarily, but usually I go for the left guy first. But that's fine because I have a little bit of a small quirk when it comes to dealing with two guys at once, having a 2v1 fight. And usually 2v1 fights, you know, you never really have to worry too much. Now, me taking on the elite instead of taking on the small fry here was actually probably the not so great decision on that fact, but at the same time I still ended up getting the small fry killed in comparison. Now, the reason why I say 2v1 fights are not really that bad is because, well, I mean, I kind of know how to play the game a little bit more now, but I'm basically, whenever I get into a 2v1 fight, I'm usually trying to get one person to kind of just end up behind the other person, so that way they just, their attacks just get canceled and they can't come, you know, they can't hit me with anything. Now, some attacks I believe probably can go through enemies, but for the most part, you know, if I'm ever in a situation like that, unless I do a knockback or something, you know, I usually just sidestep and just try to get them to line up like that, like the way I did. So, right there's two ways you can handle that. There's always like there is an explosive barrel outside the pub. I'll talk about that later, but I wouldn't worry about using that on them. One way to take care of those guys was the way that I did it with the wooden plank, which, by the way, the elite or the small fry guy from earlier, if you piss one off and then you piss the other one off by either taunting or whatever, hitting with a barrel, one of them might end up picking up the wooden plank sometimes. They typically do, but that time they just let me have it, which was weird. I'm going to save that extra attack damage thing for later, but, well, at least I think I did. I don't know. I usually keep it around just in the off chance that there's a demon, because those things work effectively, for those that haven't played God Hand just yet. Those things effectively work as if they are God Hand, where pretty much every one of your attacks is unblockable, and you'll eventually just, you know, stun an enemy, because you're continuously comboing them. Which, that's something I need to talk about as well, is the reason why I bought elbow spin and I put it on my 4th slot is because it is a decent combo ender. And I'll get into more of that stuff when I buy Elbow Vortex later on, which is something I would highly recommend you get. You don't have to, but it is a decent combo ender. And by combo ending, I'm mostly referring to the idea of like guard breaks and just combo canceling. So pretty much whenever I do a dodge mid-combo, that's pretty much a combo cancel. This is just in case people don't understand like fighting game terms or whatever. I'm just trying to explain it the best I'm not trying to make me feel bad or whatever. It's just, I over-explain everything. It's just how I am. I don't use the explosive barrel there because I kept that around for the elite guards that are in the back of the pub that I was planning on fighting later, but I ended up actually getting the antidote a lot sooner than I had expected. So, and for these guys, I want to say that if you want to run away and de-aggro them, I think it can work, if I remember correctly. And for those that hadn't watched the previous videos, what I mean essentially by de-aggro is enemies sometimes have like a certain spawn, like they'll spawn in a certain spot, and if you run away far enough, when they're not angry at you, you'll pretty much just de-aggro them and they'll just go right back there. They'll, you know, not want to mess with you. So I used the sprinting X here to my advantage, and I was going for the triangle thing, just the neutral triangle, just basically hitting just triangle by itself to essentially get that guy killed as quick as I can, because if he runs to the pub, he'll spawn 2 elite guards in the back of the pub. However, if you're trying to chase him down, you could always go through the way where the explosive barrel is at, where that door is at. If you go through that way, you can kind of sort of just eventually catch him off guard and then avoid the elites altogether. If you kill him beforehand, then it will essentially allow you to, well, you know, not have them spawn whatsoever. Now, that could just be a case of, like, maybe it's because I gave the guy the antidote. I'm not really sure, but the elite guards they didn't spawn for me, so that was one of those cases of you can just avoid all this, which reminds me, too, of a couple things. 3 things, actually, I should specify real quick. We're going to be having a mid-boss fight coming up soon. Make sure you have enough God Hand, at least one full bar of God Hand, before you go into this door. And make sure you have all your orbs, too. And especially, I more than highly recommend, please do this. Get the antidote and give it to the civilian, so that way you gain access to Dragon Kick, which is one of the best orb roulette moves you're going to have. And we'll be using that on either Mr. Gold or Mr. Silver in the next fight. And we'll be using the God Hand on like a couple of elites, and then we'll have to build back up. At least I should have. It's been a while since I've recorded these, so. Another thing, too, is if you want to run away, like, if money's not really a big thing in this game, especially on hard, mainly, preferably on hard, you can get away with, like, you know, saving your money and getting your upgrades if you know how to, well, you know, if you know what moves you need or what moves you want to get or what, you know, whatever, you can essentially, for the most part, you know, just have like a ton of money. It's got that RE4 effect. I mean, it's Shinji Mikami, so the RE4 effect of like, you just end up with a ton of money and nothing to do with it at the end of the game, because this game just gives you money, practically. That doesn't mean that, oh, you should just skip every level, which some levels you can. I'll talk about that probably more in depth later on, hopefully, through the guide at later points. I was looking for the elites, but they weren't there because they didn't spawn. But what I mean by having a ton of money is like, because I have the die mechanic in the bottom left there, because that's on all the time, and enemies are constantly aggressive, at the end of a stage, you'll get your results screen, and then depending on how many kills you got, depending, like, with whatever level you were at when you got the kill, will give you a certain amount of money for each of those kills. And typically that adds up quite a lot, especially if you don't use continued, which, you know, I think I explained before, but this is just kind of like a small update thing. I actually did end up beating the game within like a few days, so
I love it.
I did not use a continue once until the final boss, until final stage. I used no continues, so the amount of money I was able to rack up was pretty good. And then I will only be doing a very, very few fairy challenges, so you won't be seeing these very often. Now, you can use God Hand here to make this thing a lot faster. And I want to say, like, I used to use, I think, just neutral triangle, like the sweeping kick thing. Sweeping kick, or not the sweep itself, but the side kick. I think I used to use that, but then I just stuck with the X dodge up maneuver. I wouldn't recommend using God Hand here right now because I have no enemies to taunt and build meter for. Which again, you know, going into the next stage, you're gonna want full meter and you're gonna want full orbs. If you don't have those, I mean, best you can do is hopefully get an orb in the next fight to spawn, which is kind of hard to have happen. So I would say save your orbs, and usually save your orbs until a boss fight. That's the most general advice I can give you. The best general advice I can give you is keep your orbs on hand at all times, unless it's something very specific. But yeah, so we took care of the fairy thing. I got a little bit of money, not much, but you know, anything counts. And again, you will eventually probably get plenty of money throughout the game. And I usually don't upgrade health unless I really need it. At least I try not to. But anyway, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for some more God Hand. And as always, take care, everybody.